I think the worst thing that we can do is to just fossilize, and not move. There's another movie that I show in my sci-fi class, Tarkovsky's Stalker,
Hmm,
which is,
wonderful.
one of the greats, of course. And at one point in that, the Stalker, or no, there's a voice-over poem. Um, it's the Stalker's voice saying that poem, but it's a poem by Arseny Tarkovsky, Andrei's dad.
Mhm.
And then he goes into this little interlude where he talks about how I think it's drawn from the Tao Te Ching. Uh, there's this monologue about how uh, when a human is born and is youthful, or a tree is born and it's youthful, they are flexible, and flexibility is life. And then hardening is death. And there's something, I mean, there's so much that's tragic about Tarkovsky's story in that movie in particular. And he probably got cancer, and his wife got cancer, and the writer got cancer from shooting that movie
Really?
in.
That I did not know.
Yeah, they were up this river near Tallinn, and they were shooting downstream from a chemical plant that was dumping stuff into the water. There's even a few shots in the movie where like it looks like it's snowing in the summer, and that's all like chemical bullshit.
Gosh. Mhm.
And three or four people involved in the production died of the exact same type of cancer 10 years later. Uh, or like in the next 10 years. So it's very, very likely that there was some, like horrible, horrible environmental thing. But at any rate, that's exactly right, like the kind of the Soviet world, right? Like with the disregard for anything other than development that leads to that. And of course you have cultural pushback against that in these movies. But there's something about that moment that has always stuck with me. The When you're born, you're green, you're flexible, you're youthful, right? And the more you get towards death, the more you lose flexibility. So then my goal is to maintain flexibility. It's a funny thing to say because, of course, I have the physical version of that because my spine is hardening because of my autoimmune condition, and I'm trying to maintain flexibility in that sense. But I really, I tell my students all the time, if there's one thing that they remember from Intro to Cinema is that they're too young to make up their minds. If there's one thing that they remember from my classes is that maybe in 5 years they'll watch the same movie that they hated now and love it, or the same movie that they love now and hate it. And that there's nothing wrong with that. That it's actually really about where we are in our lives and keeping yourself open to new experiences and different ways of seeing the world than yours. That's what kind of keeps you able to mutate with the world and able to react to the world. I'm worried that changes are happening too fast to kind of like build the social bulwarks against instability generated by those technological and social changes, right? But at the same time, I do think that we have ways out. We just have to talk to people. Like, actually, we have to talk to people who are not like us. It feels like whatever form we have to rebuild social trust has to
Mhm.
move at least partially through these kinds of encounters between people who actually disagree on fundamental levels, but have kind of enough desire to make the world better that they actually interact.
I think, I mean, if I am to wrap it up in one thought, I think I I really like this idea of not hardening. Even if we're not as green or as flexible, there is a degree of I don't know, of touching the world in with lighter hands in a way, of stepping softly on it, which allows you not to freeze or to paralyze out of anger or despair. And I hope that you with your students manage to do a little bit of this